Hi, everybody. Welcome. We're so excited to have you here. The Capacity Building Institute hosts this monthly webinar, and we're so excited. The topic today is very unique, and I'm very, very pleased. We're going to introduce our two guest speakers in a few minutes. I wanted to just kick us off today and welcome you all as we head towards the end of 2025. It certainly has been a very busy year, lots of different challenges thrown our way. I think today's topic is absolutely brilliant. Of course, I give all the credit to Hannah Rockburn. She is the glue that keeps us together. She is a wonderful leader in our community. And the topic today is land, culture, and healing, building wellness-centered ENGOs with Rise Up Indigenous Wellness. We're going to get a chance to meet both of our wonderful guest speakers in a little bit. Of course, Launa and Sherrelle are going to be joining us. I'm Sam Laprade, and for those that have been here before, thank you so much for spending time with us. I'm hoping today you feel just as inspired as we do kicking off today. One of the things, if you've joined me before, that I love to do is to share where everybody's coming from, whether it be across the country or around the globe, and share where you're coming from. I'm proud to say I'm coming from Algonquin and Anishinaabe territory, and of course that is in the Ottawa area. And it's wonderful to be here today. So I'd love to hear where everyone's coming from. So throw that in the chat, and we can give a shout out to where you are coming from in the world. The wonderful Hannah Rockburn is standing by because she's got some really important information to share with you. And then we're going to get right into our topic. So I'm not going to wait one more second. Over to my good friend, Hannah.
Thank you, Sam. So for anyone who may not know me, my name is Hannah, and I am a volunteer with Sustainable Capacity Solutions, and I've been helping run these webinars for a number of years along with Sam. So I just would also like to acknowledge that I am also speaking from Ottawa, which is located on the unceded surrender territory of the Algonquin and Anishinaabe Nation. The Algonquin people have lived on and cared for this land since time immemorial and continue to do so today. And as participants joining from many places across the country, I would invite everyone to kind of reflect on the Indigenous peoples whose lands you are on and the ongoing responsibilities that we do share in advancing the reconciliation, respect, and the right relationship with the land and with one another. So, Sustainable Capacity Solutions is dedicated to strengthening the backbone of Canada's environmental movement as a network of services. It provides the connections and the necessary capacity building resources for grassroots environmental organizations, filling that gap between the passion that you have to run your organizations and being able to take action. Through our work, we've been able to expand the work of over 150 other environmental nonprofits across Canada with our services and the educational programming in different areas such as financial management and fundraising strategies, admin and support staff, also with professional skills and development training, and many other aspects of capacity. And our mission is really to empower these environmental nonprofits across Canada by providing the tools, resources, and the training that is needed to sustainably grow your organization and operations, increasing your overall impact of your mission. So our training programs are tailored to empower your individuals and organizations at any stage of their journey, whether they're just entering the nonprofit sector or if they are seasoned leaders within the communities and with the organizations that they run, equipping them with the skills and knowledge to drive that lasting environmental change. As mentioned slightly earlier, our approach focuses on 6 core capacity building themes, including that financial management, governance, communications, organizational culture, amongst others. And what I'm excited to announce is that we will be having a Capacity Building 101 program launching next year. We are taking in interest form. So if it's something that you might be interested in participating in next year, it is a free program for the first 25 spots available. It's mostly an online course that's self-directed, but it also includes 6 months of personalized coaching for your organization to tackle a capacity building challenge that you might be facing as a leader of your organization. So it is very well worth your time if you are even able to get that coaching. We have amazing coaches that will be helping you. So for the first round of consideration that is due this Friday, you can scan the QR code there and it would bring you right to the form. Otherwise, you can go to our website, which I'll show a little later, and it's on the front homepage button that you can fill out that interest form, and we will send you more information about the timing and what's all included in that program. I want to thank everyone for coming here. Is that this is our final episode in our capacity building webinar series. As Sam and I have been running these since 2021, and this is our final official episode of this series. We will be reassessing and we'll still be providing a different type of webinar and educational services moving forward, but it will be a different program. So this is our final episode of this specific webinar series. I also want to take time to just thank all of our partners and our trainers because we are very fortunate to have a fantastic roster of trainers and coaches that do support our various work. And we make new connections and guest speakers that join us every year. And their expertise is what ensures that we can continue to deliver these amazing topics and high quality training and coaching to all of you as individuals. So a few here that I have listed are our main trainers. We have Sam, who's actually hosting our webinar tonight. We have Rob Barnes, Barb King, who is a seasoned leader with over 20 years of extensive management experience in the sector. She will be one of our coaches next year. As well as Alex Keenan. If you have followed us for any length of time, she's been on here for a number of webinars and she specializes in that communication strategies and offering that training and consultations and communications. And then we also have Dwayne Taylor, who helps with our diversity, equity, and inclusion topics for our training as well. And he's been helping nonprofits for over a decade in the sector. And as always, we always welcome for you guys to email us and contact us either through email, through our website. We do record these webinars, so if you've ever missed one or are interested in seeing our previous episodes, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel and check those recordings out. We also do send periodically a newsletter that keeps you updated on anything that's going on, any new programs that might be launching, as well as these reminders of the different webinars and different activities and events that we do. So I highly encourage that if you can sign up to the newsletter, you'll be able to stay updated or follow us on social media. We are on Facebook and LinkedIn and Instagram. So you can also follow us on those platforms if you use those more often. So with that, I will not take any more of our time tonight, and I'll pass it back to Sam to introduce our guest speakers for tonight.
Thank you so much, Hannah. I appreciate everything you do for us to ensure these are absolutely seamless. Let's get to the important topic today. As we talked about, we're going to be talking about wellness rooted in Indigenous culture and community. And it is my honor to welcome today Launa Payne and Sherrelle Anderson. Hello to you both.
Mike, hello.
It's wonderful to have you here. And I want to hear a little bit from you before we even get started. I want to get to know a little bit about each and every one of you. So both myself and obviously all the people attending today can learn a little bit about you. Launa, can you share a little bit about yourself first?
Sure. Yeah, I'm Launa Payne, Nee Purcell, and I am a member of the Hackshaw First Nation Statlian Band, which is located in British Columbia, near to Whistler, is what people would know as the area. I am executive director of Rise Up Indigenous Wellness, co-director, and author of a couple of books around connecting to the land and Indigenous teachings.
Wonderful. And Sherrelle?
Wai Tansei, Sherrelle Anderson, Nitsikiatsin, Saddle Lake Ochiniwa. My mother's Irene Anderson, and my grandmother's Victoria Cardinal, and my great grandmother was Irene Jackson and Margaret Cardinal. And so when I introduced myself, I introduced my relatives as well, my ancestors, because they're the reason I'm here and they're who I owe my respect and my honor to because of their struggles and their perseverance and their resilience and their humor and love. That's who's made me who I am today.
I love that. And I love that you mentioned humor. I love that. That's wonderful. Thank you so much. Is there anything you want to say before we get into what we're going to talk about today? Do you want to talk a little bit about Rise Up, Lana?
Sure. I mean, and first off, I want to acknowledge that we are coming in from Secwepemcúlecw, the unceded and stolen territory of the Secwepemc people, and we're located in Salmon Arm, British Columbia. And Rise Up Indigenous Wellness is a nonprofit that focuses on supporting urban Indigenous people as well as collaborating with our local First Nations. And we came together in 2019, but 2020 is when we really started operating on a more regular scale. And we're a nonprofit that our primary belief is land is medicine. So all of the work that we do stems from recognizing that land is medicine and culture heals. So our programming has developed from that very strong Indigenous viewpoint, and our programs really vary. I don't know if you want to share a few.
Yeah, we both grew up urban Indigenous, and what that means is like we grew up away from our communities. And so we know what that was like to grow up away from like the culture. Like we had our families and we had like a strong sense of who we were as Indigenous people, but we didn't have that community, so to speak. So we started by offering on the land camps to urban Indigenous youth in the area. And that's kind of the basis of who we are still. And we ensure that all of our programming is barrier free, meaning that we provide the transportation, there's no cost, and we provide food too for the participants. So we have on the land camps, we have cooking programs, we have food bundles, we have men's groups, and then we offer like women's retreats about once a year as well. There's probably some things I'm missing too.
Yeah, we offer workshops and trainings around truth and reconciliation and construction and lots of different sort of sub areas of workshops.
Well, it sounds like you two are the perfect pair to talk about this important subject today, and really talking about land culture and healing and building a wellness centered ENGO, especially in the times that we are in. And I describe them as heavy times. Right now is a heavy time, and we know that there's many challenges for many of the environmental groups that join us here on a regular basis. Sherrelle, let me ask you this: when you think about sort of the topic that we're talking about today, what are some of the top two or three things that come to mind on how somebody can use, the teachings of the Indigenous peoples and some of the work that you're doing to ensure that there's wellness within these small organizations?
I think the important thing is building relationships with your First Nation community who's near you, like starting local first. And if it's like a non-Indigenous organization, going to the Indigenous communities, like not expecting them to come to you. We often say to make a relationship or build a relationship, it takes 20 cups of tea. So like start at number one and just build that friendship, and then it grows from there.
Oh, I've already had my first takeaway, 20 cups of tea. I like that. That's wonderful. That's great. Do you have anything to add, Launa?
Just that we always say like that we need our teachings to be at the core of everything we do. So like starting from that right from the start, like not indigenizing things, but actually starting from that like land is medicine. That is our intrinsic
Mhm.
belief. So in anything we do, we don't offer food that isn't local and land-based. We don't
Mhm.
offer workshops that don't reflect that. Like just having that belief right at the core is a really important way to embed it throughout everything so that there's an Indigenous worldview within all of the programming.
Mhm. Because I think you brought up a really good point. I think part and parcel of anything we do is the start can sometimes be the most challenging piece. So where would we start? Lana, I'll go back to you just because we were kind of on that thread, but where are we starting if we're going to try and integrate this into our own wellness and also as leaders share it with our teams?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's so many, like Sherrelle spoke to that importance of building relationships, and it is not a simple thing to do. There's, as we know, like colonialism in the years of,
Mhm.
um, you know, we're breaking down those challenges by, in trying to build relationships. And we always say, like, go to the community, don't expect community to come to you. So when it comes to where to start, it's sort of even our personal actions, if we're trying to understand Indigenous people and Indigenous culture, our day-to-day things, what we watch, what we read, what we listen to, like supporting Indigenous artists and activists and authors, helps to have if for non-Indigenous organizations, help to have a deeper understanding about our culture and about our ways of being. And we, as an Indigenous teaching, our elders say, like, to respect something, we must understand it first. So to respect people, we have to understand people. Otherwise, we're likely to, just like with nature, like we're more likely to
Mhm.
respect things we understand.
Mhm. And thank you for that. That was really helpful. And Sherrelle, from the perspective of you know the teachings that you spoke beautifully about your mom and your grandma, are some of the teachings from your youth even applicable to the teachings that you're passing on to us today, or to the environmental NGOs that are looking for wellness based in Indigenous community and some of the teachings that we're learning about today?
I think like as an Indigenous person, we're always carrying those teachings with us. So we bring it with us and it
Mm,
comes forth in whatever in like the workshops we do or the circles we hold. And it's like we have an elder circle where that's an opportunity to bring community together, urban Indigenous elders together, and then we can all share those teachings and keep those teachings alive, like for the
mhm,
next generation. And it's I guess being from an oral culture, like that's always with us. We're always passing those teachings on, and maybe we don't
mhm.
even realize it too.
And I think too, yeah, it would just be just your way of life, right? Just moving forward. I think as well when we think about the, when many of the participants that are joining us today and will potentially watch this at a later date, many of these environmental um, charity leaders are really struggling from like just the environment is such it's really everything like you mentioned in terms of land medicine, and but I think many of them are struggling because of funding challenges, or all of these different barriers that are can sometimes feel overwhelming. Is there any advice there from a mental wellness perspective, Lana, that you would like to share?
So, like, I think, like, as in, like, yeah, there's a struggle to get funding because of the lack of support out there. And we have, as an Indigenous organization, we have the additional struggle of a political climate that seems
Mhm.
to be like opening other cans of worms that are dangerous to us as a Indigenous people and as an organization. So we are up against that, but I do think there's our traditional teaching that like we're not just we are like caregivers of the earth by responsibility. Like it's our traditional responsibility. So we think of that. So for people that are really struggling with not being not receiving funding because things are not being valued or held at the same value, I think we push, I mean, it sounds simplistic, but like just pushing forward with that traditional belief and like knowing that it's still our responsibility to be caretakers of the earth, regardless of the political climate or of the yeah, we can really understand the funding struggle because we're a nonprofit who has run strictly on grants and donations for the last 5 years. So we operate without core funding. So just like people that feel strongly about the land and caring for the land have been kind and generous to support what we're doing, and we've built up and grown because of people that are out there with those same beliefs.
And is that about almost finding your people, Sherrelle? Is it about bringing people close to you and having those 20 cups of tea and having that opening yourself up to these conversations of maybe doors that you haven't knocked on before?
Yeah, and I think it's about also like building networks too. And it's like you know who you know, but then through opportunities and discussions like this, like that we open up the door and see how we can support each other. Like we're not in competition. It's about collaborating together for the betterment of the earth, right? To continue being stewards of the land and just having those conversations and also realizing like we're not alone, right? Like other people, other organizations face these challenges, and if we come together as like the one voice, it's stronger.
And I'll remind our participants, thanks so much again, everybody, for joining us today. You're going to get a chance to ask some questions as well. So feel free to throw those in the Q&A, either at the bottom or the top of your screen, and we'll be monitoring those. We're going to start asking those in a few minutes. So make sure you get your questions in there. I've got a list of questions, but I certainly we love hearing from all of you. Sometimes you have the best questions, so we want to make sure that we hear from all of you. When we hear, I think one of the biggest things for me when I was managing a team is when I saw one of my team members struggling, trying to find what worked for that team member, because it's not a cookie cutter for everybody. Is that something, Launa, that you can share of how we can benefit and also learn, so that we can pass on some of those resources or opportunities for our team members? Is there any wisdom there in terms of trying to pass that on if we're supervising or managing someone that's struggling?
Yeah, and it's interesting because it makes me think about our traditional teachings, our work that we do with our elders. In the past, traditionally, people were looked at, the elders would view the young people and recognize their gifts and lead them gently in that direction, because we know everyone had their strengths and the strengths were different. So I think as an Indigenous organization, we model that in the work we do by setting up people for success, as in like when they come in, everyone we're fluid in our job descriptions, and when people start to, we give opportunities like, what are you passionate and excited about, and how can we foster that so that people are feeling good about the work they're doing, and that we're also building on their initial strengths, as well as like offering training opportunities and staff wellness. Like the importance of some of the work we do is heavy we do some work around the toxic drug crisis and on the land healing. And so we want to make sure that our staff, no matter what their role is, have a chance for making sure they're well. Like our tradition, like healers must be healthy. So our staff need to be well in order to support the community.
Mm-hmm. And we throw around the word community a lot. Just I'm not saying you two, but just in the world, right? Where we throw that word around a lot. Sherrelle, talk to me about when you hear community, what does that mean to you? Is there a description of community that you can share from your perspective that may help us today?
Well, I can just like speak from like Rise Up's perspective. When we talk about community, we're talking about everybody who uses our services or any organizations that were connected with us. We often say like for us and by us, like so we will, if we do programming, like Launa mentioned, the toxic drug crisis, what we did is it's for youth ages 15 to 30 who have lost somebody to toxic drug crisis. But what we did before we launched the program was we got about 20 youth together and we did a retreat and we went over what would work, what doesn't work, what would bring youth in, because us not being youth it would just be us like assuming something. So that's why, so we built that community of youth to help us with our programming.
Anything you want to add, Launa?
I was just thinking, as Sherrelle said that, about we've also done a comprehensive community scan, which really helped in two ways, really. Like it helps to guide the where we put our energy and effort into in seeking funding for on the land programming, and it also helps to support on the funders and to see, oh, okay, we've done this community scan. You could see that there's a need and a want and necessity in these areas.
And when you think about, different cultural practices, I think what we struggle with sometimes, I'm going to say me because I'm not indigenous, is I want to learn and I want to integrate much of cultural practices, and I want to do better. I want to do my share of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission report. I want to make sure that I understand it, always learning. But we also want to be respectful. And I know, because I've had many conversations with many people on radio and television and in my own network and in my friend group, we are so worried sometimes we don't want to ever offend. So we want to embrace, but we don't want to offend. And I know that, I'm just being really vulnerable with you because I think it's a question that many people are nervous to ask, is we want to do it, but we don't want anyone to say, or we want you, I mean, if it's your truth, we want to hear it, but we don't want to offend. So I'm going to stop there and I'm going to just, Launa, can you maybe share a little bit about that? Because I don't know if you've ever had anybody sort of pose it like that to you before, but I think people do want to learn, but it can be a bit intimidated sometimes.
No, thank you, Sam, for that question. And because we do a lot of trainings and workshops, often it's our primary goal in starting that is establishing a safe space. And I know people toss that around to safe space, but we are like super clear on that it's somewhere where any question can be asked, because we know from our own social media and from interactions of what some uninformed questions are, and like sometimes it's inadvertently uninformed, like that, or sometimes it is true curiosity. Like we have one workshop around deconstructing stereotypes and myths, and it's really all of those myths that are out there about Indigenous people that a lot of participants have to say, we're so pleased to be able to talk about these things and to be able to bring them up so that we can have an open conversation and say like, oh, that's not quite correct, and like this is why, and then this is probably where this information came from. And we do understand that that there's discomfort in talking about our history in Canada, and there's discomfort when we talk about reconciliation. But if it's not a little bit uncomfortable, we're not reconciling. We're not like moving forward.
Okay, I'm so glad you said that, because I think I I'm the one out of my group of 20 people, my friends, I'm the one person that always wants to talk about the uncomfortable thing, because I think that's where we break down barriers and we can, move even an inch closer to understanding. So I'm thank you for saying that, and thank you for your grace in answering that. Sherrelle, when we think about all of the different environmental groups right now that are probably heading into 2026, a little bit nervous about just the world, just what's happening in the world right now. And introducing this to their team, they might have thought of some different ways. You've given some great opportunity or great examples today. If we're on board, how do we bring our team on board? As the leader, we might say, this is something I want to do in 2026. How do we have that conversation with our team for the first time to say, hey, listen, I went to this great webinar, I heard of some great suggestions, and how do we sort of have that first conversation?
I think if you're working for an environmental organization, you're looking for the greater good, right? Already. So and it's also about that relationship building and maybe bringing in or going to bringing the team to an Indigenous workshop, or if the local First Nations are willing to show a ceremony or be part of a ceremony or something like that, or even bringing stepping out of your comfort zone and going to any events that the Indigenous community is putting on. There's friendship centers too that offer just classes and it's just kind of putting yourself out there and going to these events and being a part of it, and then building those relationships that way. And just I think it's just building friendships, really.
Go ahead, Launa.
Oh, and I was just going to add into it, because we had a meeting this morning, and the conversation was around how can we incorporate more Indigenous teachings into this particular agency when there was resistance. And we were talking about even things being embedded in policy. It feels like we're directed by our policy, and if there truth and reconciliation is embedded within it, it's that starting point, that expectation of everyone who is hired, every new hire does this particular training, or we all participate in this particular whatever it is locally, so that it's already there, and it's just a blanket expectation.
And almost with grassroots nonprofits, it's in a sense easier to tweak policies so that it is embedded right in there. I think when it gets to government structures, that's where it's more difficult to embed it.
And let me ask you about resources, because I always love asking this question of our guests, because I think it's great to have this time together, but if we can provide resources, I'm assuming your organization has some resources that we might be able to tap into. So if that's the case, let us know that, and also many other resources that might be available. Launa, where are you sending us?
Well, in terms of Rise Up, we offer lots of different online and in-person trainings. We'll link our website and and our contact info. And then we do a lot of work with the outdoor learning store in school. And they offer lots of different things too. And any other resources that
the Take Me Outside outdoor learning store. It's an education base, but they have many they're all based on environment and learning outside and taking the classroom outside, and they always have very interesting speakers.
What a smart name for an organization. That's awesome. Great. Naked outside.
Yeah,
Great.
right to the
That's
point.
great. Yeah, exactly. We have a couple of minutes before we'll get to the questions from our participants here today. So I'll get to a couple more of my questions. But um, when we talk about community-centered wellness, is this us, and I'm trying to understand it myself, is this us also looking out for those around us that we would also maybe reach out to somebody and ask them to come along with us?
So, like, in terms of Indigenous and land
Yeah.
wellness, we work from, like, we think anyways, as Rise Up, that in order to respect the land that we're on, that everybody needs to know the history of the land we're on, and also be an active participant in that caregiving. So we work with everyone from like non-Indigenous to Indigenous to new Canadians, newcomers. We do a lot of direct work with trying to help, yeah, everyone understand. Because sometimes with new Canadians, they don't have an understanding of our history and don't, like,
Yeah.
you want to make sure everybody's starting at that same level. So community wellness from a land perspective is everybody. And like, so we try to have open, inclusive events.
So what we've done with our immigrant society is that they'll have their events like where they might go camping, or they have like I think once monthly events too. So what we've done is we've joined them, like where we've somebody in our network has done like plant walks with them or made medicine pouches, like just integrating Indigenous ways of knowing out on the land that they're out there anyway. So then we're able to bring somebody in to deepen that knowledge for them.
And one other quick one is community collaboratives, where like a big part of more than one community collaborative. So we sit on with all of the other nonprofits in our community and other organizations in order to have that connection and build off of each other's strengths.
And we talked a lot about sort of the environmental side, and of course, many people working in that sector, I should say, are literally out on the land. They're wanting to understand, what's happening with their particular organization. So if they're, an organization that's focused on a particular community or a particular body of water, etc., they're out there. For those that may be doing this work, but it's like I am jamming on a computer all day long. What's your advice for us to stay connected to the work? Sure.
Well, to plug my friend's book here, she did write a heartbeat of the earth, and it's just like everyday like activities you can do to integrate Indigenous ways of knowing and respecting the land into your everyday life, especially working with children. But like what we've done is we do a workshop on it, and a few of the places we've presented the workshop has been like in downtown city, so it's harder for people to connect to nature when like the forest isn't like right there. So we've worked it out, so like to find even like a quiet like green space and like to do these activities, however small they might be, still bringing nature into you, and bringing that sense of calm too.
Beautiful segue. Launa, give us a couple of suggestions that we can maybe end the year with or start the year off right with.
Okay, like I think like we've disconnected from the power of ceremony in modern culture. Like we don't do things as much in a ceremonial way. And like there's those smallest little things, from if you're an early riser, like a sunrise ceremony, a way that you acknowledge when daybreak comes each day can be a way to connect without having to be out in the forest or on the water. Another one, like bringing water near you when you're working. Like we think as Indigenous people about that healing power of water. So even if it's not like a a fish tank or a fountain, but even just a glass of water near. And we think like thinking about that is also healing. It's right next to you. It's healing for you. Having plants around you. Our office is full of plants so that we're always feeling like we brought nature inside too. So it's all like small little ways to be mindful and to keep it near you.
Yeah, and like and just to like add like just like the bringing the greenery into the office, and we were lucky enough that we got some youth to do you can't see it from here, but a mural on our wall of like a forest mural, so that when you walk into our space you have the outside inside.
I love that because I love that you got youth involved. I mean, there's just so many parts of that that are wonderful. And what I love about the examples that you shared, Launa, is that, and Sherrelle, is that these are things that we have access to. It's not, we're not trying to, make things complicated for people. It's finding those everyday moments that we can connect. I think that's really fantastic. When I'm just going to look at that. So we do have some time for some questions, and I don't see anything in the Q&A right now, but certainly, feel free to add some in there. So let me ask you this, Sherrelle, when you're, let's say I don't know, to a party, or you're in the community, or somebody doesn't know you and asks you what you do, how do you explain to somebody what you do?
I tell them that I co-founded Rise Up Indigenous Wellness, and we offer barrier-free programming to Indigenous families and youth, and we also offer like truth and reconciliation workshops, and just to really break down any, like, I guess like we're an anti-racism organization on top of it too, right? Because we're like Launa had mentioned, we're trying to embed like Indigenous ways of knowing just into the greater society, so we're not always othered and we're not always indigenized. Like Indigenous worldviews are just as valid as Western worldviews. And
Hmm.
Sometimes people like what I say, and maybe then sometimes maybe they don't understand it, right? But you don't know what you don't know.
Right. And the reason I asked is because I think sometimes when, we're kind of living our lives, and it's those everyday connections, that people are surprised maybe that there's an organization dedicated to what you do. And that just shows the importance and the number of people that would be looking for the type of education, that type of learnings that you have as well, Alana. So let me ask you this: when somebody approaches you for the first time, and maybe there's an organization leader today that's listening, and they're wanting to reach out to you to sort of see how your organization and theirs can work together, are you providing this menu of sort of options that we talked about before? Where are you starting? Is there kind of an intake where you kind of decide what would be best for that organization? Where do you start when someone reaches out for the first time?
Yeah, so we usually just try to assess what their needs are and what their starting point is. We always share that it is not just a one and done. Like reconciliation is an ongoing process. So being able to offer a variety of things, and some people are starting at different places too. Maybe they've already done some equity and diversity and inclusion training, or have that embedded. So we offer a really wide variety of programming, from engaging with local community to deconstructing stereotypes and myths, to truth and reconciliation, to Indigenous wellness, like all of the different areas that, those are just to name a few, but at different areas that where people might be wanting to have their staff engage in, and to get an understanding of Indigenous people and our culture.
Mhm. And we talk a lot about, when it comes to especially NGOs and philanthropy and nonprofits, et cetera, we talk a lot about sustainable leadership. And we're seeing a lot of people in the sector deciding if they're going to stay in the sector or not, and really try to come to terms with that. I know a lot of people are sort of taking this next couple of weeks during some quote unquote downtime to sort of think about their next steps. Do you have any suggestions, Sherrelle, on how to sort of think about if someone's wanting to make a big sort of change in their lives? Is there any sort of teachings from the Indigenous community that can help us sort of work through that?
I think it's important to be flexible and like think outside the box but inside the circle, so that you're always thinking about the people before you, the people after you, and the people in the circle, and that it's like that it's okay, like it's fluid, like let things happen organically. And like I think one of our benefits of us from starting Rise Up is that it in the beginning, like Launa mentions, we had no core funding, so we said yes to everything, and then it's really kind of made us so that we have like a very diverse portfolio where we are able to offer program different kinds of programming. Whereas if we were just like very strict on what we were offering, I don't know if we would have been able to grow as much as we have.
But we also realize like it's not sustainable.
Yeah, yeah.
That's to everything, or
Right.
there's a burnout factor too. So like
Right.
once we sort of tipped that, where we had grown enough that we had some funding in
Yeah.
place, and we were able to say, okay, we can focus more on these parts, and the workshops sustain the all important land programming that we're all about. So even though the workshops are also land-based because they're Indigenous teachings, that's the part that we use to make sure that our programs are barrier-free.
Yeah, the barrier-free piece is so important to be able to be inclusive for sure, and make sure that people know that it's available for everyone. When you think about, and you mentioned burnout, and just, starting an organization is not a small feat. I know that, and I respect that. When you're sort of feeling that way, is there anything that you do for your own mental wellness that you can share with us, that either one of you, that may help us as well?
I think that we like there's four of us who are like the core Rise Up, and I think like we're really like a little family, and probably lots of places say that, but we're also fortunate that like once a year we do like about a 4 day like camping trip or trek, so where we are just together, not for work but just for the experience of being on the land together, and just kind of leaving work where it is and just having that connection on the land and with each other.
Yeah, and it reminds us to be, we're super grateful. Like we had over 40 people employed through Rise Up last year in different capacities with contracts, and we are always like fortunate that we're putting money back into our community, putting back money back towards Indigenous people in every way that we can, but still minding our wellness.
Hmm. Yeah, no, it's really interesting, and in terms of programming that may also benefit our families at home, you spoke about some programming for children. Do you want to take a little bit of a dive into that, Charlie, and give us a sense of some of that programming that might be appropriate for somebody that's looking for something for their children?
Yeah, so like the big thing, it's like we mentioned, like it's just like small steps, like maybe it's like having that ceremony, like Lana said, and one that's mentioned in her book is like greeting a tree. Like say you go for a family walk every night, it's might be touching that same tree every day and saying like hello tree, and just like or goodbye tree, just getting to know, just having that relationship with it. And it's just like we keep things really simple here in our organization. We like just have like a cook with kids program where families come in, and we might have a babysitter here to look after the kids, and then the parents can have like make something together, but then they go home with their kids and finish making the meal together. So it's just like every day, like little activities, outside, inside, like just and using like we're fortunate to have access to like local farmers here. So to be able to bring that local food into our programming as well. And yeah, I think that's just
Yeah, and I think some of our camps are like food security is part of it, all the land, food, using local food. So there's some too where we'll do like go out to a farm and the family with the parents and the kids and then they cook a meal there. And like, yeah, it's just like lovely activities that remind us about where our food comes from and how we care for the land.
And we were fortunate
Mhm.
this September, we were able to take about, I think it was about 10 youth out fishing, like traditional gill fishing for salmon. And then it was the last weekend of the year, so the local Indigenous community was getting all their fish ready too. So the kids were integrated into that by like helping them prepare filleting the fish and freezing it. And so it was a whole like production and then like integration.
It was funny because when you were answering or like answering the question about the food piece, I thought this would, I mean, yes, we're talking about families, but I'm like, you could do that with your team. Like that would be a really great activity to do with your team as well. We have here in the Ottawa area, we have an organization called Hockey Farm, and they have spirit horses and they have many cultural events and summer solstice and wonderful things. And I was thinking to myself, why haven't I brought my team out there? Why haven't I done that? So you've inspired me today to do that. So that's something that I'll think about for 2026. Is there anything today that you know we're only have about 7 or 8 minutes left, but is there anything today that you really wanted to make sure to get across to everybody participating today that was really important about the work that you do? And I'll start with you, Sherrelle.
I think it's just important that like we walk alongside each other and we build relationships and that like land is medicine and it brings us together and that we're all stewards of this land and that's where like beauty grows and the relationships grow when we're all like working together.
Yeah, and I
Thank
think
you.
yeah, and you put it
Sorry,
so
Lana, go
well.
ahead.
I do think that like that people walking away knowing like engagement can start very small, like Sherrelle used the 20 cups of tea analogy and
Mhm.
just through your reading and what you listen to and watch, it can be just those little teeny steps of what can I do just today? What's one small thing I can do to understand Indigenous culture and incorporate that into my land-based work.
Mhm. Hmm. And we know when I think about, such a rich culture and so many different aspects, is there one or two aspects I think about wonderful music and I think about, opportunities for maybe us to watch something, to learn more. Is there anywhere that you can sort of direct us that way? Is there a suggestion for maybe something we can do to further our knowledge and our appreciation?
I think an author we always go to is Richard Wagamese because he has like a wide variety of books and he's just a very well beautifully written author.
And we do have a resource list that we could pass along
Mhm.
to of from our workshops that's suggested readings and
Mhm.
connections.
Great. Great. Yes, absolutely. I know my friend Hannah's going, yes, she loves those resources. So we do have a question that's come in from one of our participants. John is asking about your thoughts on billionaire culture and how to mitigate that. We know, from Indigenous teachings, and what I know is sharing is very much part of the culture. So I think that's where this question's coming from. Launa, do you want to take a first? First.
I had it was my band meeting on the weekend and we always have I have to tell a story. It's not the way we get to the we always have there's like 50-50 draws and raffles and tickets. And somebody who was a partner that was there that was non-Indigenous said, "Oh, you guys do a lot of like gambling at your events." And I said, "Oh, it's redistribution of wealth. It's like our old bone games and hand games and things that we did were to make sure that one person didn't have everything. It was to make sure that we we're able to share in the community. Our laws of reciprocity of having, like in my people, we have the potlatch, we have a big giveaway when something happens, and the whole reasoning behind it was to make sure that things were shared throughout the community, whether it was food or blankets or whatever you have an abundance of. So in terms of like billionaire culture, it's, that's so foreign that it's almost like, if we look at it traditionally, it's almost like an illness if you look at it from through an Indigenous lens, because it's hoarding all the resources rather than distributing all the resources.
Mhm.
So I would say they should become philanthropists and spread it around.
Yes. And speaking about philanthropy, I was absolutely shocked. And this number might have changed, but certainly a number of years ago, I heard a wonderful speaker talk about, Indigenous speakers speak about the philanthropy for Indigenous cultures, and that it's 10 cents for every $100 given in this country. 10 cents is allocated to Indigenous philanthropy. And I was shocked by this number, still the right number. I'm seeing Launa sort of shake your head, but is that, nod your head, I should say, is that sort of in the wheelhouse?
I mean, we've heard that percentage, and like one of the things that comes to mind right away, there's some funders who are trying to remove barriers to, like, the philanthropy dollars that are like running through different, say, foundations or different funders are trying to remove barriers so that some of that can flow to Indigenous organizations. Because what happens is there's so many grants and funds that are really difficult for smaller Indigenous organizations to access. Like, I think of one thing, a lot will ask for fully audited books, which is like 15 or 17,000 for a year. So a new grassroots organization, that's not sustainable. Like, it's not possible. So things like that are like offering other ways of reporting that are more in balance with oral tradition. So unfortunately, I think, like, from what I think that
realistic.
number is realistic,
Yeah.
but it is heartening to
Right.
see that some organizations are like trying to shift that.
Yeah, I was hoping that the needle had moved a bit since I heard that number a number of years ago, but it's nice to see that those barriers are being removed. I know that there was the passing the law for non qualified donees, etc. All of those pieces have been put into place as well. But honestly, we have about a minute left. Is there anything either one of you want to share before we let you get on with your beautiful day?
I just want to thank you and Hannah for having us today. And if anybody needs to reach out, please do.
Yeah, and just gratitude that people are asking the questions, because that's like the best starting point, is to feel comfortable to ask.
Good. Well, you two are like the easiest two people to talk to, so it's been very lovely for me, and I feel like we're sitting in this beautiful living room right now with your setup. So it's felt very comfortable, and thank you again for your expertise and your and just the way you've been so gracious as well for some tough questions today. So thank you for that. I appreciate it. And I want to I'm going to get a bit emotional. I want to thank all of our guests that have joined us over the last number of years. It has been an honor to be a part of this. And Hannah has been a joy to work with, and all of the team over the last number of years. So I'm Sam Laprade, and it has been such a wonderful opportunity. I have learned so much. And as much as I'm asking the questions, I hope that each and every one of our guests have known that I've walked away more enriched by being part of this series. And I want to thank so many of our wonderful, loyal participants that join us every single month. It's been an honor and a pleasure to join you during this series.